Remnant 2 dropped yet another great DLC last week. Gunfire Games demonstrated once again that they know how to play to their strengths and improve on what was already their best work. This new, larger than previously anticipated addition to the game is why you should be playing or returning to Remnant 2. First, let's discuss the DLC itself. Dark Horizon adds another storyline to the last world without a DLC. Nerude was the world in most need of a DLC from the very start. The wasteland of the overworld areas conveyed the feeling of desolation in this world at the end of time very well. It just so turns out that running through said desolate wasteland time and time again is not great for replayability. For many Remnant players, myself included, trudging through the poisonous clouds on the barrens of Nerude was the worst part of any campaign clear of the game. The malformed alien crop fields, along with its updated color palette, mixed with the fixed open world design of this new area, is a great change and a needed different pace for Nerude. The final boss of the world feels like a bigger threat at the beginning and throughout your playthrough. A favorite old NPC gets a new look and a slightly new role in this world. What surprised me the most is what Gunfire did with the new NPC. They subverted my expectations in the best of ways by introducing a new lovable NPC and not having them die off camera at the end of their storyline. This is exactly what they pulled in the last DLC, and I was more than prepared for it this time. Luckily, we got a new vendor with some interesting items, instead of the dead robot that I was expecting. Boss Rush mode is the mode that every game in this genre should have. The main source of difficulty and draw of these games is from the bosses, so it seems like a no-brainer to have a mode where this is all you do. With the last main content drop of this game, we finally have a Boss Rush mode in Remnant 2. This boss rush mode is not just a boss rush mode. You have to clear any preceding area before the boss room. In every one of these preceding areas and after you defeat a boss, you get an option for a buff. By the end of your run, stacking some of these buffs will create a build far more ridiculous than anything you can achieve in the base game. My favorite of these to use is the skill cooldown decrease. By the end of your run, you can essentially become an AFK game player because your very powerful skills will not run out and only require you to tap the fire button. Unfortunately, this new mode is not without its flaws. The experience bonus from the lowest to hardest difficulty is only about 15%. When bosses have about 4 times as much health, and the runs take about twice as long, this modifier is just not worth it. Playing on lower difficulties is just better for leveling up and gathering materials. I'm sure this will be adjusted in a future patch, but outside of doing it for the challenge, the higher difficulties of the boss rush mode are not worth it. This update redid the fragment system, turning it into the prism system. This is an endgame build enhancer that grants some utterly ridiculous boosts to your character. The craziest are the legendary fragments that are available after reaching max level. These include, but are not limited to, 45% boost to all damage, double damage dealt and taken, gaining 50 health and 50 stamina, and the incredibly vague Extreme Luck. This system has added well over a dozen hours of playtime for me in the past week, and will likely add dozens more. However, this system is also not without its flaws. These prisms, as they currently are, take a long time to max out. There is also no way to respec them until you max them out, meaning you can have a bad or completely useless prism for your build at the start of the leveling process, with no way to change it outside of 10 hours of grinding. I'm sure some changes will be made after I finish this video, so if that happens, I'll mention them right here. This is my 4th video singing the praises of Remnant 2. If this great final DLC and all of my other videos do not convince you to get into this game, perhaps this will. Remnant 2 is a novel combination of the third-person shooter and the Souls-like genre. There are multiple secrets that sound fake until you execute them yourself and find out they are real indeed. This game is bursting at the seams with creativity, all encompassed in a just monetization method. Creating something different is risky, doing it well is much more difficult and should be applauded. Remnant 2 stands in contrast against many of the worst aspects of the modern day gaming industry, and that is why you should play.